Here we observe the elusive tropical shirted craftsman in his natural habitat, brandishing his ceremonial yellow drill as a display of DIY prowess.
Alright, so to create this application to look at a webcam or camera source and be able to send that off to ChatGPT and ask it to act like someone and narrate what it sees in the image. To do that, we need some applications. So we need Python because that's what we're writing this application in. And along with Python, we need some libraries. So those libraries include .env so that we can bring in our API key. OpenAI, which is OpenAI's ChatGPT API to communicate with ChatGPT, and then CV2, which is Open Computer Vision. We need that so that we can capture images from our camera. And then we're going to need time and OS. Base64 allows us to take the image that we capture, convert it into a string of text so that we can send that off to ChatGPT. NumPy is useful for manipulating arrays. Requests let us send HTTP requests out with our APIs, and then a subprocess lets us run our audio player to stream the audio coming from Elevenlabs straight to the audio player. So just to show you that part of it, we're using a player called FFplay. It's part of FFmpeg, so you would need to install FFmpeg and make sure that is in your path so that you can run FFmpeg right in your console. To make sure that works, FFplay, and there we go. So we'll see that we didn't pass in enough arguments, but the application is there. So that's what that does. But this is the application. There's going to be a GitHub repository for this, so go ahead and check that out. But the basics of it are we want to create our voice ID. This is where we clone a voice on Elevenlabs website, and then we're going to be able to grab that voice ID, which will look like this. We have a variable for play because we want to know, are we currently playing a clip of audio or not, and then an interval to have some delay between, and then our system prompt. So our system prompt is basically telling ChatGPT what we want to do ahead of time. So we're telling it how to act, which we're telling it act like Jeff Goldblum, or act like Melissa McCarthy, or Rick's Garage from Rick and Morty, or the National Geographic guy. So this is just some examples that I've played with. So give funny remarks and jokes about the image, make it directed to the person in the photo, keep it short, like one sentence or less, which it has trouble. It's always a couple. Keep adding to the remarks and jokes, and don't repeat anything. So this will continue on, so it'll know what it said previously to continue on and not to repeat itself too. So once we do that, we want to assemble our message, which will look like this. Our role is our system prompt, and then our prompt in there. From there, we're getting our API keys. From here, we define our functions. I created a function called text to speech where we can pass in our text, tell it our stability that we want, our similarity boost, use the speaker boost, which I always recommend, and then we've got some things to set up. We want to set play to true because we are about to play. From there, we set up our stream URL, which will look like this. We pass in our voice ID that we set up here, and then from here we add in a couple extra parameters. This allows it to respond faster, so it won't process so much, and it kind of reduces the latency in the text, so that really helps. Then we set up our headers so that we can accept the data back. Here's our stream data, so we're sending the text and all the parameters to Elevenlabs. Once we get our response back, we're going to stream that response straight to FF play. So we're going to do that for each chunk that we're getting in for our response with the audio. We want to tell FF the actual process, which is right here. We want to pipe our standard input and write our chunk into it. Once you stream it in, it's going to just start playing as soon as it launches. Once it's done playing, we're going to close that process. We're going to wait for it to close. We're going to set our playing to false because we're done. And we're going to restart our start time so that we have our interval start from there. All right, moving on. So from there, we've got threaded GPT request. This is what I use to take our base64 image, and we're going to send that to a function called sendGPTRequest. And that's going to pass in our image as an argument, which is right here below. And from here, this way it spins it up into a new thread, doesn't slow down our counter, doesn't create any blocking. We don't want to block anything while we're running. So from here, we pass in our image and into our message thread. We're going to append it because we want to keep our messages going so that it doesn't repeat itself next time it sees a similar image. And then we set up our OpenAI client so that we can communicate with ChatGPT. We're using the latest GPT-4 Vision Preview model, which costs, I think, 2 or 4 cents a request, something like that. It's kind of expensive, but pretty cool and worth it. We can put in our max tokens. This way things will start to be forgotten, and I think that will save us a little bit of money here too. And then what I do is I take the text to speak that we got back from ChatGPT, and I take our messages and I remove the last message, which includes the image that we sent to ChatGPT. I remove that, so it kind of saves us some money there because it doesn't really need to see the same image throughout, because it'll carry 3 or 4 images back and forth. So we remove that, but we retain the message that ChatGPT told us so that it doesn't repeat itself. So we pop that image message out, and then we append our new message that ChatGPT is telling us. We add that to our message thread because we're kind of communicating back and forth in a way. So from there, it tells us what it's about to speak, and then it calls that text-to-speech function, which was back up here. So that's setting up all of our functions. We've got sendGPTRequest, the threaded one, the actual text-to-speech, and that's really it. From there, we actually start our function, or start the program, which is capturing the video from the webcam, starting our timer, and then we have a try loop, so in case anything fails, we can try again, or it'll crash out a little better. But forever, we want to capture images, and if the image is valid and it's within our time remaining interval, so we're creating a variable of our time remaining to show that on the webcam. We have to set up a font, but we put that text from the time remaining right up in the webcam image, and then we show that image. I call it Consulting Joe as the title of the window, and there's our frame. If we are playing, we want to keep resetting our timer so that it doesn't reach the amount of time to create a new one. So I just kind of keep resetting that, and then if it's not playing and we are doing the math and it reaches our interval, we want to, if we're already playing, we do nothing and ignore it because we're still playing, because it's still talking even though the time ran out. We want to let it finish speaking. But if it's not playing, we reset our timer again, capture that image, encode it, show it, take a quick break, and then we send that off to do our GPT request, and the loop continues. All right, let's see this thing in action. We're gonna start up the camera and the application. I'm gonna hold a drill so it's got something to say. So this is me with a power drill.
Here we observe the elusive tropical shirted craftsman in his natural habitat, brandishing his ceremonial yellow drill as a display of DIY prowess.
All right, pretty cool.